first and foremost, Uranus to your sun, it's your confidence, your excitement. So it starts when it conjuncts your sun. That's the beginning of the cycle. That's, I wrote down here, purposeful excitement, innovative genius, making a difference. I got to do something. But really, you become impatient, intolerant to anything of the old, and you're afraid of the breakthrough, but you know it's got to come, and you're having to ride the change. And usually, since this hits over a year, it's a year and a half where you're wired and unstable and anxious. And usually, there's a certain point where the faster you let go of something, the better it is. As soon as you let go and you let go, you're not worrying anymore. You let it go. You're recovering. You're still shocked, but you let go. But if you let go and you're still holding on and you're trying to go back and trying to hold on to it, it increases the anxiety to a point till it's still gonna. So usually when Uranus makes this three aspects, you get 3 hits of this anxiety affecting your confidence. Okay, like the first shock comes up, it's unstable, you worry about it. Now a cardinal sign might blow it away. A cardinal sun might just make the biggest change happen right on the first hit of it, and then it backs up. That comes back again, and it goes up, it comes back again. You get 3 hits of this. But someone that's a fixed sign, they're going to resist it on the first. A fixed sun is going to resist it on the first conjunction. And the second aspect comes back, and they're still semi-resistant. They know it's got to change, but not quite ready. They're going to half go with it, half not. And then by the third one, they're usually, it happens. So sometimes the first hit can be stronger. Sometimes it's the last hit that's stronger. If you're a mutable sign, there can be so many things going on that it's just like, so you're scrambling through the whole time, and it's just an unstable year and a half. So unstable certainly goes along with this, but the positive thing is that a time to the development of innovative goals, how to change your goals, how to change your priorities, how to change your confidence, how your heart can change. Well, who wants their heart to change? Usually we built up what's comfortable now, but it can change. It can force things. Sometimes they're breakthroughs. On a conjunction, often it's a breakthrough, but if you're not going for the breakthrough, it still can be the breakdown, breaking away. So even if you're holding on to something, you're having to let go of stuff you didn't want. But if you break through, it's still a catalyst is the right word. It's a catalytic time. So whenever Uranus is touching anything, you know you're in a catalytic mode. It's not a stable. It's like you're throwing a piece of potassium in a glass of water. Something's going to happen. It's not going to just passively sit there. Okay, so now a lot depends how stable you've been, what gets challenged, what's not, where your structure is, where your health is, where your discipline, where your self-discipline is. But there's changes to what you're doing, to your efforts, to everything you're doing. Now, Mars gets aligned to it, gets really exciting, doing all kinds of things. So there can be, we'll get to these. We'll do each planet in its own cycle, but you'll see it was wrong. So it's more, for me, I had the square first. My Uranus was in Gemini. It went into my 11th house. I had the square. Well, my family, we split up. We were out in the country. My dad went bankrupt and he had to recover, and we finally moved into the small town, St. Lambert in Quebec, and we changed schools. And I was only in grade 1 anyways. Like after 3 months, when I switched over to the other school. But in this other school, I had a gym teacher that had escaped from Russia. And back then that was a big deal. He'd escaped from the Iron Curtain, and he wasn't allowed to stay in any city more than 2 years at a time in Canada because they were still so paranoid about Russians. But he was a great gym teacher, and he was teaching my grade 1 class, but I was so good and he was such a good teacher for me. And I ended up being put on the grade 11 gym team because they needed someone that they throw around to be in the top of the pyramid to talk. And he taught me how to have these big guys hold them up and let them do handstands on my shoulders, or me holding their hands on what they're doing handstands while I'm just standing there. So he taught me. It was a real breakthrough time. It was good for my confidence coming out of a somewhat abusive poverty, where it's a place where I was excelling. Really, all I remember is thinking back of being in the bus going from school to school, being with all these older people. But the highlight was at that point. But it was only for a year or two. My parents weren't really into it, so it really was the gym teacher and me. But it was a shock that got me a little excited in myself, a little more independent and doing my own thing. So this was the first one. I don't remember the second one that summer. I don't remember. And by the third one, my mom was pregnant with my second son, so with my second brother. So these were all significant change. And he was sick, and we had to move. So this was all disruptive. It's not like you're at that age, you're not in control. There's things happening around you. So my world wasn't exactly stable. The gym team was a very special thing. It gave me something special, other than being in a new school and not knowing anybody and trying. So, but that was that's faded. When it comes up to conjunct my son, this was much more dramatic. That was in 72, 73. I had just, let's see, it was 1970. I started being an astrologer. By 72, 73, I had been married, my son was born, and my marriage ended by the end of 72, 73. I was whole shock. I never expected it. But I was doing TV shows. I was high profile with astrology in this shocking role. So there was an instability. The marriage was holding me back. It wasn't working. It let go, and I got separated from my son. I was personally, my confidence about family things was really shaken. But it pushed me out to another level where I started I was starting a national group of astrologers, and we started by getting a few people together and calling an election prediction. So we called this election prediction for June of 74. And we had 6 or 7 astrologers at this one place. I had rented a room, and all the TV and radio stations across the country came to it. They were curious. It was really fresh territory. And we all gave our predictions, and we weren't all exactly the same, but it was a time when Trudeau was, people thought he would lose, and I said, no, he's going to win again. Some of the funny things that happened when I was saying, oh, it's going to look for a couple hours, it's going to look like he's losing in the polls, and then the third hour of the elections, he's going to just take over and he's going to win, get his majority. Well, everybody was laughing at me for this, but on the day of the election, the TV station, the federal national TV station, was playing it, and they're playing it. How wrong could the astrologers be? Look, it's all going to conservatives. This house is possibly going to be playing a show, and just as I was playing my little clip where saying, well, and the Trudeau will come and build up and win, get the majority. It happened while he was making the clip, and everyone across the country was just shocked. The guy went white as a ghost, but I got this great success about astrological predictions. And it was the start of the Canadian Independent Astrologers Order. And I was lecturing at an esoteric festival at the Royal York at that time. So it was like really high profile. Everything broke through around career-wise. But the Uranus in my 10th house was conjuncting my son, but it still brought that excitement of career and reaching out and doing my own thing. Like I just at the time I was thinking, well, if I'm ever going to be able to do a prediction, it's got to be now. If it doesn't happen, then let's just try it and find out. But right up to the last moment, I'm nervous as anything, thinking it's not. If it were wrong, everybody's going to know. I was wired, and then when it came through, it just was such a rush of adrenaline. It changed my life. But that's once in a lifetime thing. That changed everything. Marriage got left behind, going on. So that was the conjunction. So when someone's going, you see the conjunction coming, you want to see when someone's conjunction, what age they are when that happens. If it happens when someone's 5 or 6 or 7, that's a different management thing, because you're having to decide it for them. And if it's happened in your 20s or your 30s or in your 70s or your 60s, like, wow, it's kind of an act of fate or karma. How come this happens at this time? And how do you prepare for it? How do you get ready for it? Some people have great geniuses and they don't really go on it. They don't really get acknowledged for it. But when Uranus is on the sun, they're supposed to go for it and reach out for it. But a lot of times you can feel hemmed in by the marriage. For me, I was happy in the marriage, but it really broke away. And once it broke away, my first wife took off with my 4-month-old kid. I couldn't find him for 5 years. It was a tremendous shock to me. I had to just let it go and move on. So this is my story. And everybody's going to have a different one around it. But then it went on. When it came to the square, I had I had a bunch of things were happening. I had to, I moved from, I did 14 years in a place. Had to move to another place. I got a place near Young and Bloor on St. Nicholas Street, and I had to renovate this whole place for, like, it was a big, but I guess it was 20 some odd, 2,000 square feet or so, and I had to put up about 100 sheets of drywall to make walls and everything. So it was really physical, disruptive. And I set it up so there's 3 classrooms, and there was a skills exchange group that was renting the classrooms to help pay the rent. It went on for 6 months, but after 6 months, for 4 months, they stopped paying the rent, and my secretary didn't notice it. Well, so I never got the money for it. It was just disrupted. And then by the last hit of it, that secretary, I went away for the holiday, came back, and she started sleeping. She'd been sleeping with my clients, and I found out about it, and I had to let go of my secretary. We got along fine. We worked fine, but it bothered me that I never even noticed. When I found out, I had to let it go, and ever since then, I've never had a secretary. I just done things on my own. But there's specific things that happen. The changes in me were formed, and I had to deal with those. I had to let go of things, but I still moved on to other things. So in a way, you could say it's a destiny. It's breaking away what doesn't belong so you can get onto things. Yeah, so that was it. Then the following one was the opposition, which just recently happened in May, October 16, and March to April of 2017. In both of these times, I suddenly got called up, and one of my students wanted me to come to China, so they arranged for me to do workshops in China. So, and I went to China, and I did about 52-hour PowerPoint presentations with a translator and doing it, and it was very well received. It worked really well, but the person who organized it had a breakdown, and it caused a lot of challenges and upsets of how this was going. So she broke away from it. I still had to continue the webinar series till it was finished for almost a year, for this whole period, and without being paid for it, but I had to complete it because people had paid money for it, and I kind of got ripped off for it. So at the end of I finally finished the webinar. I'm just getting clear, and suddenly the place I've been in for 15 years was a studio. They found out I wasn't supposed to live there. I had to move, and that was a big sudden shock move. My truck died, and the person who had the property for the wood henge had sold the wood henge, and everything I'd been working in that area broke. I had to let go. So that was a huge disruption. I never expected to go through that at 70, to start all over again. And it was very upsetting for me. And certainly the astrology went really well. It was very high, but it really had a cost that I couldn't carry. So then I let go of all those things. But by April 2017, I started the webinar series that I'm doing now. I decided, well, rather than just quit, I'm going to do another series just in English, never mind the translations and that, and get at least one more set done in my life. And these are being video copied, and it's a different record of it. So that was it was a big shock. It was not, I'd always taught personally to people with classes around me. It was really, teaching was like being part of a family and interacting. And I had to give that up to just get this completed before I die, to pass this knowledge on. But these were really significant turning points in my life. And the last one was really traumatic. And that was the opposition. I knew it was coming, but I knew there would be changes. I didn't expect it was everything. I didn't expect to have to move. So this was shocking to me. I'm still regrouping from that now. By doing the webinar series again, it's reestablishing my understanding and reestablishing it to myself. So it's rebuilding my confidence as well. Thanks for being part of that. But so this is just mine. Now yours, you're going to have your own pattern to it. That conjunction is going to come at some time in your life. So like in predicting, when you're trying to see what's happening for somebody, well, Uranus for the last 7 years has been in Aries. It's 7 years in a sign. Every 7 years, there's a different style of clothes, of fashion. These are 7 years styles of what's exciting, okay, what to do.